For our female entrepreneurs, we have been going on this journey with you around changing and reimagining the world of business. So that's what you're here to kind of pop into. We do our podcast on here. Did she really say that? Which you guys can catch every Monday. You can come in and check this out. And then on Tuesday, we go live to meet you, talk about what we're doing, how that conversation went, and then share with you what's coming up in the world of female business, because it's always evolving and changing. So with that, we'll do a quick introductions because you probably have no freaking clue who we are, which you may or may not, but we'll get started anyway. So hi, my name is Chef Katrina. I go by Chef because for a little over 12 years, I was a chef at Walt Disney World. I transitioned into the world of entrepreneurship a little over 15 years ago and have been loving it ever since. Today, I teach and train female entrepreneurs how to simply create a system for their business. So that tech training that you're totally scared of, don't worry. I gotcha. I like simple processes and simple steps to creating your millions. So that's what I'm here to help you with so that you don't have to stress around your business.
My name is Heidi, and I spent the last 17 plus years homeschooling my kids and also building different businesses throughout those years. So but I love to help women to actually enjoy your business, have fun in your business while you're growing your business, and not letting your business overwhelm your life. And it's like, because your first priority is your family, your friends, your spouse, and it's like your business should not overwhelm the life that you're trying to build.
True story.
True story. Yeah. So
welcome. And I'm Karen Angeli, and I am also a co-founder here. And words are hard this morning.
Good to know. We know what kind of live we're going to have today.
More fun.
I don't know what I'm saying, but it's okay. I've been an entrepreneur for about 9 years. And for me, really, Truth Bomb is just about getting women back to themselves, back to who they are, and building a business that they actually love. So that's me. Words are difficult, and that doesn't normally happen for me. But man, right now my brain is on 0. So this is going to be fun.
Yeah, always.
Entertaining when we do this because, we're talking about being a female entrepreneur. And I know that we've had a lot of fun in reimagining how the approach to business needs to change for women so that they can have success. Because some of the things that we've been finding out, it's like, one of the things that we've been having this huge discussion around, and I'm glad that we're now having this discussion over here on YouTube so that we can have some people dive into this, is when we asked women, do you want to become a millionaire? That's been the ongoing question, right? Do you want to be a millionaire? And we've had some interesting conversations around this. We've talked about it in our podcast, but it's still an ongoing dilemma that we are. And I'm seeing it all the time. I don't know about you, Karen, but I am searching online all the time. I'm finding a lot of training that's out there that's being run by women, which is fantastic, right? I'm seeing coaching programs. I'm seeing course development. I'm seeing women talk about it. Even they're saying, hey, women do need a different way to run a business. And so I'm seeing this really big push for the change that women really need to experience, I guess I could say, right? And what they need to feel about how they're running their business, because we're hitting so many roadblocks and burnouts. I mean, have you experienced any burnouts over here, Heidi, with building your business?
Yeah, because especially it's like when you are raising your kids, you want your kids to be the priority. And it's like you go into the business to have more time with your kids, and you actually end up with a business it's stealing all your time. You feel like, I always felt like it's like when I was spending time with my kids, I was neglecting something in my business. And it was like, or if I was at their sporting events, instead of actually watching the sporting event, I was doing something for business. And so it just felt like this is why it's like I want helping women to build this business that doesn't overwhelm your life. You want to enjoy the process. Enjoy building your business, actually enjoy the lifestyle while you're building your business, instead of just this goal that's out there. Oh, in 20 years, I'll have this lifestyle I want. Where are your kids? Do your kids even know you in 20 years? Does your spouse know you in 20 years?
Do you know yourself in
So
20
no, the
years?
idea is not to wait 20 years to enjoy that lifestyle, but it's to how do you enjoy the process of building your business while without it overwhelming your business.
Yeah.
And for me, I bring a lot of the spiritual aspect to this because this is something I feel like the frequency of our earth, I actually don't feel I know of the frequency of our earth is currently raising. And a lot of people are looking for why the fuck am I here? Like they're looking for the answer to all of that right now. And a lot of us are kind of opening our eyes and going, wait a minute, like there's so much more to life than what we've been told since we were children. And for me, I want women to just kind of get back to the present moment at the end of the day. One of the things that I struggled with while building my business was I always felt like it had to be done now. It has to be done like yesterday, really.
Your
And so
business
it
is going to
create-
collapse if you didn't get it done.
I heard
Yeah.
that was the same experience for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I would feel like so much anxiety over it that it would just be like, oh my God, like yesterday, Katrina and I had a conversation about, oh, we need to have this landing page done. And I would have never done this in the past. In the past, I would have just been like, okay, I'm doing it right now. Yesterday, I was like, no, I've worked really hard today and I need to take a break. And that would have been something I would have never done before. The thing that came out of my mouth was, it's not a hurry, it's not a rush. And that was something that I truly believe at my core, that you're not here to rush anymore. Like you're here to be a human being and you're here to actually enjoy the process. And for me, like I got so burnt out and to the point where it was like if I just like I thought that if I just worked harder, wow, words are hard today. Yeah,
Dug
digged
in,
in.
dug in,
Yeah.
dig, dug. Yeah.
If I digged in harder, then
I like it. Did you really say that? Yeah, she said digged
Yes,
in.
yes,
Dig,
yes,
dug
yes,
in.
yes.
Yep, yep.
So, but for me, it was like if I just worked a lot harder than I was working, then I would get to where I wanted to go faster. And
Yeah.
I want women to actually realize that that is actually counter to what you want to do. If you want to actually manifest in a magical way, not work, and then you can play, but you can play along the way. If you want to actually manifest the life that you want, then it's more about the feeling and how you feel. So if you're in your business and you're going, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm worried about the money, I'm worried about XYZ, you're just going to continue to create more worry at the end of the day. That is all you're creating. But when you actually go, you know what? I've done a really great job today. I felt really good while I was working. My emotions were stable. I was enjoying the process. You're going to actually start creating more of that. And so for me, I want women to actually start looking at what are the thoughts that I'm thinking all the time. And this is something that I do. And I actually write down what are the things that I want to work on right now. What are the thoughts that when they pop in my head, instead of continuing to think that thought when I notice it, how can I actually rewire it to something else that is actually more healthy for me so that I can actually create and manifest a business that I want? And what ends up happening is you will start to get money. I mean, yesterday, my husband and I, we were like, holy shit, where did this $300 come from? We don't know. Like literally, like that's the kind of stuff that starts happening in your life when you start living your life this way. You'll look at your husband or you'll look at your kids and you'll be like, wow, I don't know how that happened, but thank you, universe. And this is something that we haven't been taught. We've been taught naturally in culture that if you want something, you have to work hard for it.
Yeah,
and
that's
for
a
me,
realist.
I'm going to tell you right now that that's a bunch of bullshit that is keeping you stuck. That is literally keeping you on the treadmill, on the hamster wheel. No, if you are doing the actions, you have an intention, you're doing some sort of action to build your business. More important than the actions that you're doing is your thoughts. What are you thinking? And changing those thoughts and not actually sitting in them. Because for me, I sat in my thoughts for probably years. Let's be honest. I sat in them for a long
And I
time.
think
I think we all do, right? And I think that there is this conscious awareness that is starting to happen for sure in the world, right? Like there is this raisingness of consciousness,
It's
right?
contagious. Sorry
Yes.
about that. I should have warned you before we got on. Warning may contain word vomit.
Word vomit.
It may contain the combination of words that don't really exist in the world. That's where I'm going with. It's okay.
Mhm.
So, but I think you pointed back to something that's really interesting. And I think a lot of women experience this is this time crunch of going through their day, feeling like they don't have enough time. Because we hear that a lot. I don't
Right.
have enough time. I wish I had more time in my day. I wish I had more hours in my day. How many of you have ever, ladies, have said, I wish I had more hours in my day, right? And I think that's the sense of that we have to do so much more than what we have to do, right? And I agree. It's like, you know, the world didn't end by us not putting up a link last night, right?
Right.
Could it have gotten done? Yes, but at what cost to the
Exactly.
organization? At what cost to the human being, right? And I think so many times as women, because of the fact that we are taking care of family, that we are taking care of our household, that we are taking care of even ourselves, or we have like a roommate, or we have like other things in our lives, your dog, your family, laundry, you name it, work, whatever is driving force of your life, they're important. And we have this sense that we don't have enough time to spend with everybody, right? And I think that's where that to-do list of overwhelm comes in, because we already have this world with as women that we're like, oh my gosh, I've got kids to raise, food to put on the table, laundry to do, shopping to do, blah, 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 blah. Do you? I mean, like, is there food in the pantry, or is everyone really going to like go hungry tonight, right? And that's only a question that you can answer. And it's just an arbitrary way of pointing this out. I think so many times we get so wrapped up in everything we have to do. And they even said this was actually a study I was reading. Women experience, when we talk about burnout, it's actually the energy women burn that they don't recover from. So when we talk about burnout, you have an energy source that you are running with, right? And you will find, women, your cycle and how you look at life is different from person to person.
Yeah.
Right. But you can always recharge your energy. But most of us have the experience of, we have this much energy, we do what we have to do, and then the energy is depleted because we're not taking that time to rest. We're not taking that time to reset. We're not taking that 5 minutes to go into a meditative prayer. We're not taking 5 minutes for ourselves at any point in our lives. And I'm still catching myself in this process. Not only are we teaching this, but I'm catching myself in this process. Like, where am I taking a mindful 5 minutes to recharge my own battery, get recentered in my own body, get present back to the moment? Because I feel like so many times we feel like our battery is on empty and we're still running. And women don't even know how to turn off or unplug from that. Like, they don't know how to rip out the cord and be like, I'm taking 5 minutes out, right? They're on this constant treadmill of action. So I think when you look at what does burnout actually mean, and trust me, I've written blog articles, I've read a shit ton of blog articles out there that are all like, oh, you just need to have self-care. Oh, you just need to prioritize. And like, there's like this whole masculine world telling women how to be, right? And innately, you as a female, you actually know how to connect back into yourself. And connecting back in the body is the hardest thing, because how many of you don't like the way you look? How many of you are ashamed of the body image that you have? The way your boobs look, the way your hips look, the way your belly looks, the way your hair looks, the wrinkle under the eye. Like, we get so consumed in the visual of this that we're not even aware of getting back into the body and being so grateful that it got us up in this morning, that it's breathing, that it is doing the work that you don't even see, right? And I love when Karen does with us the meditations, because it's like, you really do have to settle back into your body. Trust me, this wasn't an easy experience for any of us. I mean, getting started with this, you're kind of like, this is weird. Or like, am I doing this right? Or what is it supposed to feel like? Right. And that, I think, is where you have to be. It doesn't have to feel or be or do anything a certain way. It's what you're experiencing. And I think so many times women are, told they're beautiful, they're not beautiful, they're shamed by women, they're shamed by men, they're shamed by everything for a look they have or don't have. And I think that's where we're getting caught up in a lot of the BS for women, is that we're still in this crap world of you have to look, be, and act a certain way. And we're like, no, time to change that conversation.
Yeah. I mean, it's common for any of us that have never had a mindful moment to go, am I doing this right? This feels weird. And the reason that you're coming up against that is because you have literally been living in a set of programs. This is neuroscience, okay? Like, this isn't weird woo-woo stuff. This is neuroscience. This is what your brain does. When you've been caught up in a cycle of doing things in a certain way, when you go against that, your brain and your body go, wait, this is wrong. I shouldn't be doing this. This doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And the thing is that when you get past that feeling, you'll start to realize, oh, this is what I was supposed to feel like. I had no idea. I'm not going to lie to you. For probably like, I don't know, at least 25 years of my life, I had no idea what it felt like to actually feel good. And I have spoken to many, I've been to many meditation retreats, and I've spoken to many people that say the exact same thing, because they have no idea. They didn't know what it felt to actually feel bliss in your body, to literally have like not a care in the world. You could think about your bank account in that moment. And I've tried this. I tested it when I was in that state of bliss. I thought about my bank account and I went, money's hilarious. Like, what are we so worried about? Literally, these are the thoughts that I'm thinking in that state of bliss, because you cannot have a low vibrational, negative frequency, negative emotion in that moment. You just can't. It's impossible, because you are so blissed out. You literally feel like, and actually I believe that you have touched God in that moment, and it changes you on a core level. And so for me, I want to bring a little bit of that to females. I want people to realize that you don't have to stay in this state of hurry, hurry, hurry that we've been told to do forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. We don't have to stay that way. We're not meant to live like that. We're not meant to go to work and work until we're 65 years old and then retire, and then now we can enjoy the fruits of our labor. We're not meant for that. We're not
meant to just work and die.
No.
Isn't
and
that
that's
called,
trash.
Isn't that called like human abuse or something like that? It's like you're just working for somebody else, not even for yourself. There's no self-awareness when you're in that cycle, by the way. There's
none.
And
honestly, I think that the powers that be kind of keep us in that cycle, thinking that that's what we have to do.
Right.
So that we don't wake up and go, oh, wait a minute, I don't have to live like this. I can actually enjoy my life. I can actually appreciate everything around me. And the more you appreciate, the more you have gratitude. Literally, one of my favorite meditation gurus, he will say this all the time. Gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. Yeah. And it's true. When you step into true gratitude, and you can literally look and be like, oh my God, I have a computer. There are so many people in this world that do not have a computer. Yeah. How simple is that? But you get so caught up in, oh my God, my computer's getting old. This needs to be changed, blah, blah, blah. We forget about what we actually have, because we're sitting there complaining about the things that, oh, I want to change this. Or like you said, Katrina, about your body. Oh, my nose is too big. I wish it looked different. Oh, my arms have flab. Oh, my boobs or whatever. Like, we literally are taking this thing that's beautiful. Many people will probably look at you in your lifetime and go, man, she's friggin' gorgeous. And you're sitting over there going, ugh, I'm so ugly. It's killing us.
It is. And it was really interesting because, and I love Dove for this commercial. There's actually one, it's called it's a self-awareness. And what they did is they brought in a forensic sketch artist. And what they did is they had women come in, and this was beautiful. If you ever get a chance to, find us on YouTube or whatever. But what they did is this forensic sketch artist couldn't see, had his back to whoever walked into the room, couldn't see him, had a divider between them, and all he had access to was their voice and what they described themselves at. So this woman sat down, a couple of them, they had a group of women that would sit down and they would describe themselves. Oh, my face is a little long, it's got some wrinkles under the eye, and it would like be this whole, is your hair long or short? And based on what he was hearing them say, he was sketching this.
Yep.
Right. And he actually, overall, I mean, it looked like it got, well, anyways, go watch it. But the next piece of the puzzle was that woman was then sent to interact with another group, both male and female. Right. And what was interesting, so it makes me cry. So another female comes in and she's there to describe another female. And then they had a guy come in and describe the same female, right? And they both were like, she's got this kindness about her. Like, it was less about the features and more about like the person they met, the personality they met, the inner strength that they met, right? And then they described that to them, right? And what was interesting is when they hung the pictures side by side and they invited back the original woman, she sat there and she goes, I'm really hard on myself. Like, I'm super hard on myself. Like, I can see where I'm really beating myself up over how I look. Because when I look at the other pitch of how people see me, they see a softer version of me. They see a stronger version of me. Like, the words that they used was like, and then I just remember them saying, most women were like, I have to start loving myself more, because if this is what people are seeing and I'm not seeing that, it really points to how much as women, we don't see our own beauty. We are putting ourselves up against cosmetics, fashion, this perpetual perfection lie that's out there, this Barbie lie, right? We're not plastic and we're not meant to be, I'm just saying. But it was really hard. And it just, every time I watch it, it just reminds me, for myself even, like, where to give myself grace. And that it's okay that I'm aging and I'm getting older, and there's beauty in that, and accepting all parts of that. Like, stand in the mirror, ladies, and look at yourself naked and really look at yourself and look yourself in the eye and be in total gratitude around how you look. It's a different experience once you start having that in your life. But that to me was, I think, one of the most beautiful depictions that I've ever seen. And I really do appreciate like bringing that awareness to women, because it's so missed by so many of us.
Yeah.
And that brings the tangible in the world.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that it has to start with us too. Like you talk about the whole the burnout process, and I don't have enough time, or the I'm so ugly, this is never going to work, or whatever. Like, you have to figure out what's the thought you need to replace that with. And a lot of times it's going to start with something small. A lot of times it starts with something small so that you can build up your belief. Because a lot of times, and so with manifestation, people are always like, oh, it doesn't work, it's not a thing. Actually, it does work. Your brain and your body are literally sending out signals and attracting things back to you on a regular basis. This is also a scientific proven thing that they've discovered as well. But with manifestation, like, a lot of times people will set a manifestation goal that they don't even believe for themselves.
No, the
So if
$10,000 a month when you've not made $1 online belief cycle is brutal.
Yeah. So if you set these unrealistic goals for yourself that you don't actually believe, now, if you at your core believe it, please set that goal. But if it's not something that you can believe, you can't replace a thought with a thought that you don't believe, or a thought that's negative with a thought that you don't believe, and expect your life to change. Your energy and your frequency have to change if you want to actually attract the thing back to you.
Yep. Agree. And I always talked about that too as I was mentoring and coaching entrepreneurs, because they're always told, right, there's a $10,000 a month, like, you want to be making $10,000 a month. And when you transition to the world of corporate, and I know I bumped up against this a lot when I left the corporate world and I stepped into the entrepreneurial world, I had no experience of making money for myself or of asking for money for my services, right? I was in a corporate job. I just did what I had to do, and I got paid a certain paycheck every single week, right? And that's the doing process, right? You show up, you do this, you make this much money. As an entrepreneur, when you step into this world, you have to start asking your worth, right? Instead of assuming somebody's just going to pay you a couple bucks to do something, right? So they're paying you for actions, but inside of entrepreneurship, you're asking women especially to say, hey, what are you worth? And because of our esteem level and because of our belief around what our worth is, and because we've been taught for so long that, you know, we didn't have value, that we were just here to get pregnant, have family, raise kids, all that back history stuff. And we know so much has changed over the years. And so when you become an entrepreneur, you have to make the ask. And for a lot of women, asking for what they're worth definitely feels hard. It feels like awkward because we've not been trained at any point in our life to ask for that and then be open to receiving that. And so when you talk about the stair step, Karen, it is literally a stair step. I said, if you can make $1 online and you have the experience of getting that first 99 cents or $1 online, you're pretty excited, right? Once you get that going, you're like, if I can do it once, can I do $2 now?
Yeah.
Right? Can I do $4 now? Can I do $8? And I was always told that you try to double what you do, because you take the same action and then you're looking to, like, again, repeat that. But then how you feel about that action really helps bring that into your life, because now you're feeling good. You're feeling excited. You're like, I did this, I can do it again. Right. And you have to stay in that state of excitement. You have to stay in that place that it is possible. And that's why you'll hear women and a lot of people say, if you want it, you have to ask for it. And you have to then raise your level of belief to have that come into your life.
And the piece of the puzzle too, that's not always easy. This is actually the hardest piece of manifesting. Even when something hasn't happened yet, maybe you've never made money online and you've been online for, I don't know, a year and you've never made money online. You still have to be in the feeling of what would it feel like to make your first $1 online. That's not easy. That's probably the most difficult piece of it, because you have to literally get into your future feeling. And when you get into the future feeling and you fully embody it and you change your energy around it, that's when magic actually happens. And that piece of the puzzle is the thing that we've definitely not been taught, because we've been taught, oh, well, I did it once and I know how that feels, so I can keep doing it. But what if you've never done it? That's the piece of the puzzle that it's like,
So hard.
okay, like this is where you really have to visualize and see yourself in the future. See, what is it that you want? I literally always go back to one picture in my mind, and I don't know how come I have this picture in my mind. It's just something that I went, that would be really cool to experience. And every time I feel myself dropping my energy into a frequency that's not what's going to actually create my future, and I notice it, I go, wait a minute, let me think back on that picture of what my future self is going to be doing and how that's going to feel. And for me, a lot of it feels like I feel relaxed. I feel full. I feel whole. I feel enjoyment. That's the piece of the puzzle that when you can actually fully embody that before it happens, that's truly when all the magic starts to happen.
Yep. And so true. Anything to add?
Yeah. No, it's just like, it was like the whole visualization thing. It's I'm kind of new to all of that. But I think it's like, but what you said, it's like, sometimes it is hard to visualize something that you talk about, but have never experienced. And it's just like, so but the more you do it, the easier it does become. It's like getting into that. It's the same thing. It's like, I think when we started these meditations, it's like, I have been thinking, I was like, what am I supposed to feel? It's just like, and then at the end, and she asks the question, I'm just like, I have no idea how to even answer it. But it's the same thing. It's that muscle that you have to exercise. It's like the more you do it, it's the more you actually can relax.
Yeah.
And you actually feel what that relaxation looks like. It's like the first time you do it, it's awkward. It's like, and you're in my brain, I have a really hard time shutting my brain down.
You're one of those women.
Yes. And that's what it's like, but the more you do it and the more you practice, the more it's like, it doesn't feel as awkward and it feels more, it's like you actually can hear your brain like stop running. And it's like, wow. And it's like when you can actually start to quiet that, and then the visualization, it happens a little bit easier. So I was like, I'm coming from somebody who was like, this is a foreign topic to me like 6 months ago. And it's just like, I think so many of us have grown up in a world where it's like, oh, that's that woo-woo stuff. That doesn't really, but it's like when you actually understand how much of it is not woo-woo, it's like if you put that word behind it, it sounds weird, but it's when you actually experience it and realize it's like, because coming from a very religious background and you think it's like it's not right, but it's like when you actually understand the energy on the earth is what God put here. And I mean, it's like it is from him, and it's not so strange for me. And it's just like, so it's like I do have a, so I think it's like some of us, it's like for me, it's like that's a thing that I've had to look at. And I was like, and realize it's like, it's like all of this is what he created. And it's like, and because we live in this modern world called the United States, that just minimizes the power in the energies around us. I think we minimize it so much. And it's like, but if you actually travel, which I think is one of the reasons, one of the reasons I started entrepreneurship is because I want to travel. I want to see the world. I want to see all of the creation. And it's like, you travel the world and you actually become so aware of all the energies. Other people, other cultures don't minimize it like we do.
Yeah.
And it's like, but then to come back to the United States and experience it. And it's been interesting, I guess, my understanding and my less awkwardness around it now.
Yeah. So one thing I always say to people when they do feel that awkwardness that you described, where it's like, is this really real? Because I get it, because I came from the same background as you, Heidi. Yeah. Like I 100% get it. And then I went, wait a minute, like we are all energy. We are all frequency. And if you have any question about that, just go to your kitchen and pop some popcorn in your microwave. How did that happen? Can we talk about microwaves for a second? Is that magical or what? We just take this all for granted. It's literally a magical thing that is happening. And truly, I don't know if I timed out or if you guys did. I hope, you did. Okay, cool. But anyway, so the microwave, it's literally putting frequencies to heat up the popcorn. Or what if you went and you got an x-ray because you broke a bone? Where did that come from? Can we talk about this for a second? And the fact that we are literally like, oh, energy and frequency, that's not a thing. But we literally live in
a frequency world.
Yes. Yes. And to be completely honest, we see less than 1% of our reality. Okay. And if you don't believe me, go look at a chart, and you can look at any science book and see this. Okay. This is science. Okay, guys, like you can look in any science book and see the frequencies. Go look at a chart of all the frequencies. You'll see the light frequency and how small of a frequency it is compared to all of these other frequencies in the world. Yes. Like, we literally see this small, tiny, bitty baby bit of a light frequency. That's all we see. The truth of the matter is that there's 99. What's that?
This is frequency. This is frequency. How far is it that sound and light are traveling through an internet, a cable,
right?
Literally, we're connected by cables. And then if you guys are Wi-Fi, there's a data signal sending another signal to your phone. Is that not a frequency? Your cell phone. Have you ever figured out why you can talk to somebody on the phone? It doesn't have a person in it. I know. Sure.
Wait, I can't shake you out of it. I thought that's how that worked.
All my friends live on the computer.
And when I need them, they're just there.
Yeah.
But like this is all, I mean, how many of you guys have ever seen Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, just to bring this way back to the olden days, right? If you watch the original, you had the guy that was wanting to be at the Wonka chocolate bar where they would TV'd it and they shrank it down, right? And then the way they showed it is that it went up in the air and broke down into these little particles and then landed on the other side. It's a frequency that went by.
Yeah.
Right? I always thought it was interesting. How many of you have ever like gone driving anywhere and you have like a radio frequency? How does radio that gets broadcast from one building make it through building, brick, dirt, cement? Radio frequencies literally like go through everything to allow for you to hear sound. That's interesting.
Yeah. So when you think of it like that, this is how like weird, magical, like how the fuck did that happen kind of stuff can happen. Because it's like, wait a minute, we actually are in less of a physical world than we think.
Yeah.
It's more of a creation that we've created.
And it's been interesting because I've been watching a couple of different programs, and one of the programs that I'm watching is talking a lot about frequencies, sound, right? Transmitting on different megahertz for sound and what we hear. And what caught my interest, not so much around what the topic is about, but how much sound actually moves the body, right? It moves water, it moves the earth, it moves everything. Like sound is really a powerful tool. And for me, like I do believe 100%, sound moves me in certain ways.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so for the past couple of days, I've been working on what we've been working on for Truth Bomb Academy. We've been doing a lot of updating inside of there. We've been adding new images. We've been doing our training. There's been a lot of really cool things that we've been working through with the Academy and what we're building for women. And I just, for me, have had this hertz of music. Like it's actually at 88.8 hertz of music, and I'm letting that play at my conscious level because I feel differently. Like I can actually start sensing this. And now if you asked me to do this like 6 months ago or even a year ago, I probably thought you were slightly out of your brain, most likely. But
I opened you both up, didn't I?
You have.
It
you
is,
must like you have.
It is and it isn't, because I've always known I'm attracted to music. This is why I prefer dance over working out. I would rather go into a studio and learn to ballroom dance because music has always moved me. Sound has always been in my life. I have literally the class.
You turned into a robot here. Ha! That's the fun part about streaming live.
Whatever. Like it isn't a variety for me. Yeah, we dive. So we didn't lose you. But that for me was a big piece. Like having sound has always been a big key factor for me. And so no matter it helps change my mood. It improves my quality of life. And when there's silence, I'm in my worst way. When there's sound and when it's intentional sound, I'm in the best version of myself. So I know for me, sound helps me visualize. Sound helps me create and tap in more to what's around me. Sound is like, and that's why I love listening to people with or without video, because I've started to learn how powerful their voice is if you just listen for what's there. And that's my gift. Like that is really where I fall into, is just the listening, because I feel like that is the one thing that if we tapped into it, we would unlock so much more than just listening to the noise out there, but really got intentional about the sounds we were creating. That's why words are important, because words will sound different to different people.
Yep.
And that's why you, like, for me, to be honest, the word gratitude stopped landing for me. It feels nothing like gratitude. That word actually has like this wash for me. And what ended up happening for me, it was the word I appreciate landed more energetically for me than gratitude. So it was actually like, and it's the same place, but it's a different word and has a different energy for me and sound when I say it. So for me, when I say things, I actually hear it differently, which is why I always say you have to say things out loud, because when you start tuning in and you start listening into your body, I truly believe you'll start hearing what makes you take action, what brings you joy. And I do know without a doubt that words have a tremendous amount of power in our universe, because it is literally sound and intention brought to life.
I also think it's how the words have been used in your life in the past and your upbringing, because I think it's the opposite for me. Appreciate means something different to me than what I'm grateful for. And grateful is still still a lot more powerful.
So that has a
for
powerful
me.
for you. Okay.
So, and I think it's just because of how the things were used in my life and or overused or not used. And so it's just like, for me, it's the opposite.
Yeah. So it's all about like what you hear. And that's why you'll hear words or speak words. You'll learn how to speak words to yourself that will raise your own vibration, or have the thoughts that change your vibration. But for me, that is still a big piece. Any thoughts, Karen?
I mean, I always have thoughts.
This is true. She's a thinker. She's a thinker.
Yeah.
I don't.
You don't have thoughts?
I'm good.
Not always. See, I am probably one of the few in the world that I was the opposite of everybody. Well, I heard everyone trying to quiet their mind and try not to hear things. I've always been in a state of quietness. I actually have to intentionally listen for my thoughts because I don't have them there. Like, they're not consciously there. Like, I actually have to bring an awareness to, like, what did I just think? How did I react to what I just heard, saw, or thought, or feel? Because I'm never in the place of always thinking. I'm always in a place of listening. So because I'm always in a place of listening, I listen first. And then I look at what I'm thinking, and I've learned to do this and go, does this serve the conversation, or do I let it go and just stay present in the conversation? Because so many times in a conversation, we're thinking about our answer.
Yeah.
We're thinking about our response to what somebody just said. And I think a lot of the times when you can just listen for somebody and just be there, you'll know what to say without having to think of the response to say. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But I'm the weird one, so I'm cool with that.
I'll agree. She's the weird one.
I'm good with that. Yeah.
They're both actually pretty weird.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you don't think I'm weird, then we got a problem. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
I don't
you're
know what
normal,
I'm putting out in the world, but that's not what I mean.
Just to wrap this up real quick, because I know we've been on here, and as we've just started launching our lives on here and getting to know that, so I know it's going to take some time for all of our viewers to come on and know you can join. You can have a conversation with us. You can definitely chat in the chat box. We want to hear from you. But this is your opportunity to ask questions and hopefully really engage with us around, you know, what it looks like in your life to be a female entrepreneur, because we are challenging a lot of beliefs. We are challenging a lot of what we've been initially told about how to run a business, because what we're discovering is that it doesn't always serve, right? Like, I woke up this morning dreaming of, like, men say, I have this idea, let's, you know, how much money can I make? And then my next thought was, yeah, but women wake up and say, I have an idea and I want to help. Like, who is it? How many people is it going to help? Right? Like, we have two different approaches to how we run a business, and both are correct, right? Neither is wrong or right. But it's like, when you go through that business plan, there's moments where I can definitely hear my mentors and all the training I've gotten over the years. And then on the flip side, you can hear all the women say, well, yeah, but I'm doing this because of this. I'm doing this. And it has a more rounded out, holistic feeling to what drives women in business. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting place that we're playing. And I love the fact that we have women that are just like, yeah, this is really cool. Because we do it differently. And it's okay to do it differently, darn it. I'm tired of being fit into a box.
I don't fit in a box.
Is that a box, or is that a hole? It looks
like
it's
a box, and I can only has one eyeball in it. It's like you look into this small little box and you're like, there's gotta be much more to this.
Even little children, it's like, I loved watching my granddaughter play with the big box. And I was just like, but it's like she goes in it just to burst out of it. And it was just like, it's like she doesn't go in it to be like, oh, I live in a box. No, she goes in it to burst out. And it's just like, we don't stay in boxes. No, doesn't serve us.
And we've forgotten how to burst out.
True.
We have.
Well, that goes back to the piece of, like, what's going on in your brain. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. Like, really, like, I was thinking about this the other day. I used to say, oh, I like change. And that's actually not true for anybody, because, like, yes, I like to change my outside circumstances, but the inside circumstances, I don't always like to change because they feel uncomfortable at first. Because when you start to replace the thoughts with something different, that doesn't feel right, because I used to feel like this and my body is craving that. And I'm asking it not to feel that way now. And that doesn't feel right because I'm so used to doing it this way. And so, yeah, so that's part of not wanting to burst out of that because we're like, wait a minute, like I want to live this way. And to be completely honest, by the time we hit age 35, we're basically a robot in our brain. We literally are thinking the same thoughts, we're having the same feelings that we did yesterday. Yeah, so literally think about that for a second. By the time you hit age 35, you are already set in motion all of the train tracks in your brain unless you're actively starting to change those thoughts. You're actively starting to change, and you do have a lot of neuroplasticity in your brain, but it really, like, it comes down to, that's the reason that we have things like we say I can do this on autopilot, like driving your car. You can do it on autopilot. You don't have to think about it because you have a set of train tracks in your brain that say when I get in my car, all I have to do is I don't know anymore because I just drive and I just go. Like I don't have to think about it. So that's what makes bursting out of that box and making a change in our life a lot harder as we get older. So kids love to do that because they're still learning, they're still putting down those train tracks in their brains. But as an adult, when you hit that 35-year-old, you have the same set of 60 to 70,000 thoughts every day, and unless you're working to change them, you're staying the same, babe. You're manifesting the exact same thing that you did yesterday. Unless you go, wait, I have to change. It's time to change how I feel.
Which goes along with, and this last thing I will say is that in a lot of the books and education that I've read, this is why typically they say that you'll have your greatest ideas, your greatest achievements after age of 35, because you usually find out that you're stuck for those that do it. Like if you look at a lot of successful entrepreneurs over the years, it didn't happen in their early years. Yes, you have the success, but typically the events that we've traditionally seen in people's lives have happened over the age of 40.
Yeah. Especially for men, it seems like they have this, they have all those years before that they're working up to it, but then they reach their success, they reach their the lifestyle that they want after 40, or it's like they have this brilliant idea that doesn't actually come to them until they're in their 40s or 50s even.
Yeah. We've seen some of the biggest changes in people's life. It's in their later years. But I'd be curious how that could change by bringing more awareness earlier. Who knows? Something to figure out. All right.
Really, it comes down to teaching the younger generation how powerful you are. Teaching the younger generation that you actually can create your life. And then you set down the right train tracks instead of setting down train tracks that you then have to pick up and start over again. Well, really, that's how, like,
I agree and I disagree a little bit on that one, only because I've seen a lot of training over the years of like kids doing meditation, kids doing things at an early age. And yet what I still find interesting is that they still have those moments in their life that set a certain personality in place, a certain trauma. There's always a trauma that happens. Even if you try to avoid it, you can't, because that helps in some respects create your life. Because I feel like if you never have sadness, if you never know upset, how do you know the difference between pure happiness and joy and sadness? Like there is the dichotomy of that. You've got to have both. And because I've seen this, is because even like the monks, they talk about teaching their young and they do meditation, and yet they still fall into sometimes that same cycle.
You have to have that life experience. Life, just living life has so much value.
Yeah. Because I've seen, like, even for like the self-development that I've done, I've seen kids get started as early as like 6 years old in it, and yet still come across some of the same blocks. Because even though you have the tools to do it, I think we start to apply them more as we have more life experience.
Yeah. Because
if we don't have anything, that's, for me personally, I feel like, and just from what I've seen and what I've learned and what I observe, and there's still much more to observe. Like there's no definitive for this. But I find it always interesting not to discount anything. And I do feel like we need to be more in this conversation, especially for humanity. But I do find it interesting that I think it's the trials and tribulations of your life that allow for you to discover for yourself your true passion, beauty, and grace.
Mhm.
So, I think that the conversation of trauma is a totally separate conversation from what I'm saying. I've actually I remember one of the events, the meditation events that I went to. I met a 12-year-old girl that had been meditating since she was 6 or whatever. She just had been doing it with her parents for however long they had been. And her parents were like, she manifests things like you wouldn't believe. Like literally she will say it and then the next day it will show up. Like weird stuff like that. So it's
And I'm
really
not
about
I'm not discounting that. I'm just saying, like, I've seen like kids that do a great job at that. And then there seems to be a point in that they grow up and they face a different challenge.
I mean,
And the
we are all
question would be, can you maintain that for your whole life? And I'm hoping yes is the answer. But I feel like we're such in a new study of this that I haven't seen the long-term effect yet for what's out there. So I'm not discounting it. By no imagination am I discounting it.
and
I
we're
think
all
you can do
put
it.
and we're all put and chosen to be on this earth because there are certain things that we want to learn. There are certain things that we want to up level. And so I personally think that we all come in at a certain frequency at a certain time because we've chosen a certain experience that we want to experience and how we want to actually up level our consciousness. So yes, there's always going to be traumas and things, but when you come at it from a state of I can also manifest a life that I actually enjoy, you have a magical life. It's a different way of looking at life. So yeah, you're not going to stop the fact that this is the world and circumstances happen, but how do you actually respond to those circumstances? And putting down those train tracks in your brain as a child, I think it has an incredible empowering effect for a lot of our youth. And there's actually a lot of youth that goes to the meditation retreats that I go to as well. And you talk to some of them and they're like, oh yeah, I started doing this when I was 16. I started doing this when I was 15. Now they're 18 or whatever. And they're like, yeah, it's just been a wild ride. You would be just amazed by some of the things that you hear coming out of their mouth and what they've experienced. So at the end of the day, like I'm here for the present moment. Like I want to know, like, what is it that you've created, like right now? Like that's cool that you have that change in your life, that you have created this. Like how can we continue to instill that empowerment? Because for me, it's the empowerment more than anything of I actually can create what I want in my life. And it might not show up in the way that I anticipate or expect. And that's where I always go back to the thought that it's always working out for me, though, because it is. Like I look back at my life and even things that looked like, oh, this is the worst situation, always ended up being the best. And that's the wisdom that comes out of it. And I can't tell you how many people I have met through life, through these retreats that I go to, where they're like, I had stage 4 cancer, and my disease was actually the best thing that happened to me because I was able to become who I am today. I would not feel the way that I do had that not happened to me. I would not know what it feels like to actually feel bliss in my life, to actually understand what it means to feel good had that situation not happened. So the thing that's like the worst thing in their life has now become the best thing in their life. And it's interesting to see all of the things because we all have chosen different experiences to experience, whatever that may be, whether it's struggling in business, whether it's having an amazing business, whether it's having some sort of disease or illness that we've manifested in our life and then we've unmanifested it. It's one of those things like I think that we're here in a constant state of learning and evolution for ourselves. And that's like, to me, that's the whole point. Like, what else would be the point? Like, it's not, the point is not to go out there and be greedy and make all this money and blah, blah, blah. The point is like, well, what am I learning from this from a second by second basis? So
I like it. With that, I think we call this a wrap. Yep.
Mhm.
So thank you all for joining us here on Truth Bomb Marketing, our YouTube channel. We're excited to continue to meet with you, and we'll be meeting here or going live every Tuesday at 10 a.m. So come in, hang out with us, ask questions. We definitely love when we get engagement from our viewers and our followers, because this is something cool and we love having this conversation. So if this is something you're interested in, definitely hit the follow button. There's a follow button or a subscribe button, right, Karen? There's a button, something.
Something.
I'm like, there's something on here.
There's a button
Subscribe
somewhere.
button. Yeah.
There's a button somewhere that says something about
Subscribe.
subscribe. And then do you want notifications when we go live? Which my answer would be yes, because this is a cool conversation. Who wouldn't want to be notified when we have cool conversations? That's all I got.
Hit the thumbs up.
Oh, the thumbs up thing, the button thing. Feel free to share. Feel free to clip. Can they clip? Can they? Feel free to add us to a list that you're creating of awesome women that are helping awesome women create awesome stuff in the world. Like, that's a cool list to have, by the way. And that's all I got.
That's all I got.
All right. With that, everyone, hope you have a great day, and we will see you later.